Radio Free Skaro!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Radio Free Skaro, episode number 1061. I am Stephen in Edmonton.
Morning, Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
Recording this one on a rare Friday night party, everyone.
Because we have live.
No, we do not.
Oh, we don't. There's a new bar that opened up like literally 2 blocks away here. I think it's the new. I think the local gay bar had to move locations, and so now they moved to a place that had vacated one. So sometimes I walk by there after walking home from Oilers games, and it's hopping every single time. So if you hear any like thumping bass notes and
I was wondering where that sentence was going.
I was wondering, did the gay bar move away or to this
It's
location?
closer. I can't.
Okay.
I can't quite see it from where. Or maybe I can. It's even closer than I thought it was. Yeah, it's right down there.
It's his living room. Come on.
It's the living room. Looks like everyone's having a good time.
It's the whole steel industry.
That's true. It's true. Anyway, that's happening. So yeah, if you hear any parties going on, because it's Friday night, because, you know, what else would you do on a Friday night except talk about Doctor Who missing episodes, which is what we're doing here.
The greatest party of all.
It is absolutely. Listen, I know a lot of people who spent their Friday night basically dealing with Doctor Who missing episode stuff a couple weeks ago when it was announced.
And by a lot of people, you mean yourself.
Very much so myself. But also with John Franklin. John Franklin, film is fabulous, who I've long wanted to get on the show. Didn't have to hassle him. He promised me an interview, and dang it, he gave it to me. Microphone problems and all that we managed to get around, but that's coming up very shortly, actually, very, very shortly. But before that, we'll talk a little bit about because they've been posting a whole bunch of videos of, like, you know, comparison shots of, you know, before they were cleaned and after they were cleaned. I haven't watched them because I don't want to be spoiled by anything. Literally 6 seconds of an episode I have never seen before is a spoiler enough for me. But they had this great video, 10-minute video of this person cleaning the film reel, loading it up, putting a new leader on it, so it'd have enough room to be spun out, and then it was a very complicated technical process that fascinated all three of us, didn't it?
One of the most interesting things about it was the guy was saying how even though they only need to do 2K scans, they're scanning it in at 5K.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
So they have that extra resolution to play with.
Yeah. It's easier for cleanup. If you blow it up, you can, you know, it's easier to paint out a bigger blob, basically, than a smaller blob. It makes complete total sense, you know. So, yeah, very exciting because, of course, as you are listening to this, it is this coming weekend, April 4th, in a Memphis sky, that not only the Riverside screening will happen for the 2 episodes, for all 140 odd people who were lucky enough to get in to that screening, but also on iPlayer. And the word I have, I don't know if this is public or not, and it might be by Sunday, who knows, but I think the episodes will hit iPlayer around 6 p.m. UK time. Thus coinciding with that Riverside event ending, so that people have a bit of an exclusive by watching it there. So if you're wondering, if you're waking up, if you're staying up or waking up and thinking that, okay, it's going to be at midnight here on iPlayer, and you just keep hitting a refresh, it probably won't happen until 6 p.m. That's the goal anyway. It is altered the plans of this podcast because, alas, we're going to have to record on Sunday, which means Chris won't be able to be there, sadly, Chris. But we'll to review these 2 episodes. But we're hoping to get Toby Hadok on the Sunday with Warren and me, because he'll actually be at the event. He'll be hosting part of it. And then we can have Chris's thoughts on the episode the next week after. So that, kids, that is stretching out content over 2 weeks.
Well, and then we'll all have properly basted in these 2 episodes. So
That too. That too. Yeah, we won't, because otherwise, yeah, we would like literally have to like watch them and like basically watch them live for the first
it would
time
not
on
be.
a podcast.
It wouldn't be. It's not fair to us or to the audience, frankly.
No, absolutely not. So that's what's happening this coming weekend. But first, I mean, you probably all want to hear this anyway. I want to hear it too. It's earlier this week. I chatted with John Franklin from Film is Fabulous about the missing Doctor Who episodes and what stuff might be in the future based on what we have found now. And here's that chat now. Exciting days for classic Doctor Who fans as 2 episodes of the Daleks Master Plan, missing since 1965, have been found and returned to the BBC archive, soon to be released on iPlayer, and all thanks to the efforts of the organization Film is Fabulous. And I'm pleased to be joined by the person who spearheaded all this, John Franklin. Hello, John.
Hello, Stephen.
I mean, it sounds to me from what you were telling me before that it's been busy days in the film collection business, especially with the recent announcement. How has things at Film is Fabulous been for you recently?
Well, every day is a challenge. I mean, there's so many different things that we have to face. Many positives because, of course, being able to preserve collections and to save rare and missing items is very rewarding. But there are things that we have to deal with, the human side of the task that we've decided to take on. And that's something that perhaps we can touch base on a little bit later in this conversation. But yeah, there's a huge demand for the service that we've developed and defined, and that's something that we are quite happy to pick up and to face.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we'll obviously get to the 2 episodes found and the other work that Film is Fabulous is doing, but can you give us, maybe for those that don't know, like a sort of a potted history of how Film is Fabulous came about?
Of course. I'm a long-standing film collector. I've been involved in film collecting for probably 40 years now, if I think about it. So I'm very well known within the film collecting community here in the UK, and particularly in the Midlands, the centre part of Great Britain. I live in Leicester, and so I know a lot of the collectors in and around my hometown, home city. During COVID, we had a lot of the elderly collectors become, well, very sick, and unfortunately many passed away. And I was contacted by a number of their families. So at the weekend, you'd get a call, "Hello, John, it's Sue. Dad's died. What should we do with his films?" Mm-hmm. And the fact of the matter was there was no single or easy solution. There was no body or organization that we could really turn to. And I put out a call to arms to people within the film collecting community to see if we could find ways of helping families dispose of films and equipment, memorabilia, because it was clear that the larger corporations, those big organizations orientated to film, didn't have a solution, weren't really able to come in and assist us. So basically, I engaged everyone that I could to try and help find a solution to dispose of the film collections and preserve the films rather than see them end up in a skip and ultimately landfill. And that was challenging, so much so that I ended up going out to De Montfort University, which is a local university to myself, and speaking to the team there, which is headed by Professor Justin Smith. And basically, I was able to call on the expertise, the facilities, and the backing that they have, and through De Montfort University, launch an initial event where we were trying to really encourage collectors to make a list of their films and to add the list of their films to their will, because one of the things that we discovered is many of the elderly collectors that passed away during COVID, they had no lists. They very often didn't have a will, and so there were no instructions to let people know what they really wanted to happen to the films that amassed over a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seemed so wrong to me to let all of that work, end up in a rubbish dump. And so we basically brought in experts from different backgrounds. Sue Malden very kindly came in and gave advice on archiving, how to curate collections. People like Paul Vanessis and Steve Roberts, technical background information. So we staged an event at the Phoenix Cinema and Arts Centre in October 2023, basically to try and encourage as many of the elderly film collectors that were present to make these lists and to add the lists via a codicil to their will. Everyone thought it was a great event, great idea, but the reality was when we came to review what had happened, virtually no one had done anything. So the emphasis came back to us at Film is Fabulous. We decided to launch a pilot scheme, and through the pilot scheme to actually take on the task of cataloguing films ourselves, to try and then find a way of integrating those catalogue lists, either for living collectors into their wills. And what really transpired is most of the people who really wanted to use the service that we were offering were the families of deceased collectors. And we learned a lot on the job, not only the best ways of cataloguing and, of course, trying to identify certain things, but just how large some of these collections were. I mean, tens of thousands of films. And, of course, it's an incredibly labor-intensive job cataloguing film.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to be very selective as to how we move things forward. And to date, the sort of modus operandi that we've taken on board is to try and prioritize those collections that are the most vulnerable. So there are large collections in which we know there are, important and missing or rare items, but fundamentally those are safe, those are secure, they're not vulnerable, and we've basically made sure that anything that could be lost is given an absolute priority. So that's really the sort of genesis of how Film is Fabulous started and how we've moved in various stages through to where we are now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know you're not, as well versed in Doctor Who as others. Let's say, like people who listen to this podcast. So, like, Doctor Who is not your main focus. But whenever people start talking about old films and film collections, naturally, the ears of Doctor Who fans start perking up. So, were you aware, I guess, of the number of missing episodes of Doctor Who that might exist in private collections at that point? And did that? I'm not going to say did that influence what you were looking, because you're sort of targeting the more vulnerable collections, but were you aware that perhaps these are things that might be targeted as things that people would be very interested to be found? In reality, no. Mm-hmm. The vast majority of the film collectors that I knew, and indeed still know, are not interested in, television is the reality. They're more interested in the cinematic experience, whatever that might be, whether it's old feature films, whether it's silent movies, whether it's modern films and sci-fi films, but it's really the cinematic experience. Black and white television wasn't really something that I knew that much about personally. And indeed, I only really knew two collectors who had any quantity of television within their collections. And that's one of the things that's been such a surprise. I mean, the amount of film with television episodes on it that we've discovered, it's been a great surprise. And of course, reflects the fact that there are a lot of people who worked in the television industry
who were also collectors of film. There's this enormous crossover between former industry professionals and the film collecting community, who, of course, salvaged film from the likes of the BBC, salvaged these television episodes, rather than wanting to see it thrown away. And that's how so much television escaped into the film collecting community and then was preserved along with feature films and other things by film collectors.
Right. When I interviewed a film editor, ex-film editor to the BBC called Chris Hayden, who left the BBC in 1969, and he'd moved to America since then. And I was interested in interviewing him. And towards the end of that interview, he sheepishly admitted, and he was still like very wary of admitting, that he took some original footage as basically as a show reel of some Doctor Who episodes that he edited, and he had this on his film reel. That was like 55 years after the fact, and he was still, probably shouldn't admit this, but I have this in my person. Is there a general feeling amongst film collectors, and this is one editor with one film reel, that, you know, I've walked off of something that was originally going to be thrown out, but do they see it as sort of like, it's not really my property, and therefore they don't really broadcast that they have a lot of these like missing television material in their collections?
Well, it goes way beyond the material. What you have to remember is that many of these people who took items in the 60s and 70s are now themselves elderly. Their sole income, or if not their sole income, their main income, is their BBC pension. And the last thing that they want to do is to jeopardize that by revealing to anyone that they've taken items that might have been taken without the permission of the senior management. And of course, theft by employee is still a crime in the UK under the 1968 Theft Act. So you have to remember it goes into that sphere as well. So no one is going to come forward without encouragement and start talking to their previous employer about things they may have done that, quite frankly, was illegal. That's where we've been able to act as a sort of a conduit, an intermediary, taking all of the emphasis off the individual and being able to put it back onto the programs, the items that they've salvaged, rather than their individual circumstances, and then talk to people like the BBC, the independent television stations, ITV, etc., and to act as that safe intermediary and to calm the waters and to ensure that there are no obstacles to overcome.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I mean, you've said that the anonymous collector who sadly passed on, whose collection contained these 6 episodes of Doctor Who, 2 of which were missing, that he had never watched them, and probably like he was mostly interested in train movies and canals and everything. So how have you been able to sort of ascertain how these TV film cans, not just Doctor Who, but in general, it's sort of like float about from collection to collection, even though like people wouldn't necessarily be after them, but they just keep showing up in film collections?
Well, of course, they escaped the likes of the BBC, came into the film collecting community with former industry professionals. Maybe that person decided to dispose of some items, and X person purchased a whole clutch of things, a box, rather like Terry Burnett. When Terry acquired the 2 Doctor Whos that he returned to the BBC in 2011, they happened to be in a box of films with other items that he acquired. He wasn't necessarily interested in the Doctor Whos. He just acquired the box. And I've done that myself. I've purchased items at auction and all sorts of things. You end up with 40 films, perhaps 2 or 3 of the things you're really interested in. And the other 37 just sort of sit there whilst you're enjoying the thing that really initiated the purchase. And of course, over the years, as collections become larger and larger, because the film collecting community becomes smaller and smaller, more people, or should I say, fewer people have more films. And of course, it's likely that among the items that they have, there will be more items that they have less interest in. Ergo, the box of the television things that they're not really interested in sits there and holds the back door open, why they can have their enthusiasms watching the programs about the coal board or transport or whatever they have particular nostalgia and enthusiasms for. So, I mean, it is difficult to really understand the sort of process, but many, many more things found their way out of the BBC than I think the BBC perhaps imagined. And of course, the natural haven, the natural path was to find its way into the film collecting community. And that's where it resided for all those years.
Well, I mean, we've mentioned the sort of the provenance of these types of films. Let's talk about the origins of the films that you found recently for Doctor Who, and the fact that you say they're cutting copies, which is something we've never really, in the missing episodes community, sort of talked about a lot. We've always sort of followed, the prints that were intended for international sale and that were, found around the globe based on that. But these, you say, are cutting copies. So can you explain just briefly what a cutting copy would be and why perhaps they wound up in just a random film collection?
Of course. So the term cutting copy is a unique thing to the BBC, and that really aligns with a label that they applied to cans. I tend to refer to these items as technical review copies. And the reason I use that term is that's what they were. Effectively, they were produced so that the technicians, the engineers who were liaising with the film laboratories could check to make sure that the films that they received were technically sound prior to any cuts being made, and of course prior to overseas film prints being struck, because the last thing that they would want is technical issues to impede sales. And of course, if you're shipping things off to different parts of the world, you don't want to hear from those different parts of the world that they've got an inferior product. So ultimately, all of the technical review copies, the technical review prints, they came in because of the technicians' work and didn't really have the same stringent cross-checks that were in place for overseas sales, where licenses were obviously negotiated and agreed and money was exchanged. So in all likelihood, it was much easier for the people when the technical review copies were being cleared out from a cupboard, which is probably where they were stored somewhere, to take them home. And that's what found its way into the film collector's collection. And I believe that if the archaeology existed, i.e., if we knew what was on the cans and on the labels of the things that came back in the early 80s, in the early days when Doctor Who and other things were being returned to the BBC archives, I think we'll find a lot more of them were actually cutting copies, these technical review copies, than overseas sales prints.
Is there a way to sort of easily ascertain that? I mean, Tim Burrows mentioned on his podcast that like the film can for at least one of the two Dalek's Master Plan episodes, there was clearly a new label placed on top of the bottom, but you can't peel that top one off without completely destroying the bottom one. So is there an easy way to sort of determine what might be a cutting copy and what might be a broadcast copy?
Well, there are layers to this. So again, without going into all of the technicalities, understanding of the process helps. And we're doing more research to better understand the process. Once the film recording was made normally made whilst the program was being broadcast. You would end with an uncut negative, and from the uncut negative, the film processing laboratory would strike a positive, which would be then termed a cutting copy by the BBC.
Mm-hmm.
That would be reviewed by the technicians and reviewed predominantly at Villiers House, a home of Enterprises, by a projectionist and possibly another technician, but certainly a projectionist. So they would project the film, look for any technical defaults, both visual and audio. If there were cuts to be made, then there would be a second cutting copy, i.e. a copy with cuts. And once the cuts were made, those cuts would be reproduced on the negative. Then a new negative would be struck without cuts, and a new positive print would be struck. So you see, if there were issues, you could end up with 6, 7 or more cutting copies, all with the same label. So there are iterations of this. I'm sorry to go on technically.
No.
In the minimum example, you end up with an uncut negative and an uncut positive. And I think that's what we have with all 6 of the episodes that we recovered from this collection, the original uncut positives. But as I've just outlined, if there were technical issues or things that needed to be cut, you could very quickly, from an episode, have multiple copies. And indeed, based on what we know, if there were cuts made to an episode of, let's say, a later Troughton issue, where there were perhaps 3 copies bicycled around the world as overseas sales prints, well, as I've just outlined, you might have 6 technical copies set in the cupboard. And of course, they would more easily find their way out into the film collecting community than an item that's being transported around the world under license with fees. Ergo, I believe that it's more likely that those things that have been found and those things are yet to be found are probably technical review copies, what the BBC called cutting copies.
So, not to get our hopes up, John, but you're using a later Troughton episode as an example and not hinting at a potential future recovery. Am I right with that?
Oh, absolutely. I'm just giving you an example that, based on the information I've been given by people who know vastly more than I do about Doctor Who, it's possible that something from the Patrick Troughton area was sold, and it could be that there were literally 3 copies bicycled around the world. And if the technicians found a fault with the positive print, there could have been 6 copies of the same thing sat in a cupboard that were disposed of. I'm just saying that is the sort of equation, and that's the view I'm taking.
Yes.
So, there could well have been many more things sat in cupboards than there were actual things being bicycled around the world.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how large the collection was that contained the Doctor Who episodes that were recently found, but like what kind of work goes into cataloging it? I'm just off the top of my head, I would assume you basically have to unspool the film a little bit just to see what's on there. But even then, there might be stuff later on. I mean, it must take a lot of effort and time to sort of determine what's on each film reel.
It's as labor intensive as we want to make it. So in answer to your question, there were almost 6,000 films in that particular collection.
Wow.
A large quantity of them were items that we decided, because they were mute, homemade films, that we decided not to try and catalogue in great detail. What we do when we take a collection in is we basically subdivide the collection into categories. So there are those things that could be commercially available films. There are those things that, if they're home movies, we don't tend to spend as much time with them as other items. And of course, the things that we really spend more time with are those rare and missing items, whether it's television, feature films, silent movies. So there's layers to this. Just so that your listeners can understand things more fully, we have a section on the website that really outlines the whole cataloguing process, from delivery of a collection through the initial listing phase, through to actually doing real in-depth work on maybe a silent movie from 1919 or nitrate film stock, a missing episode of television from the late 1950s. So, I mean, of course, each thing is different, each circumstance is different, and that's what makes it uniquely challenging and very rewarding at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you've obviously do a lot of work with these collections, and this one's now been cataloged. I will quote you from the Tim Burrows Missing Episodes podcast that you, Justin Smith, and Sue Malden are on, that you said several missing episodes were in the hands of several collectors. How long ago were you able to determine that, and how? I don't know how much you could say, but how much closer are you to sort of acquiring those collections, or at least cataloging them?
Well, that comment was born out of the situation that we faced with the collection and the whole sort of groundswell of interest that was born, as I said, out of the Facebook comment. So we felt that we had to make some comment. That's
right.
Not an answer to your question. I will answer your question as best I can.
Excellent.
We have been aware of collections with missing episodes of television, including Doctor Who, for some time. I am not going to say what they are and how many they are, etc., because that actually won't help us, nor will it help people that are interested in Doctor Who. But the way we've gone about managing this recent return, I think, is something that those collectors who have those items will have studied very carefully. And from the feedback that I've had, it's been viewed as being very professional, and that can only help. So my expectation is when the time is right, we will have access to those entire collections. We'll be able to catalogue the entire collections. And I'm very hopeful that any missing items, whether it's Doctor Who or other things, will then be returned to the copyright holder and made available for everyone to enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to put a time frame on that, but we're working actively behind the scenes to make that a reality. So hopefully that answers the question in a sort of roundabout way.
Absolutely. This is the first find that's been announced and everything. Is there a potential for negative or positive attention now being paid to it now? Like suddenly the return of lost film is now in the news for the first time in years. And, are the collectors that you're talking to now aware of this? Does this change their perception of what they might have in there? Are more people coming forward, perhaps saying that I also have a collection, would you like to take it? Or perhaps I have a collection and you're not getting it, I want more money. Like, is there negative and positive connotations that you might foresee from this?
Oh, it's wholly positive. There's nothing negative. The only negative would be if we decide to try and press people to do things more quickly than they're really willing to do things. And that's why I've said constantly, we're not treasure hunting. We're cataloguing entire collections. We're dealing with people with respect, humanely and legally, so that they understand that everything will be done in accordance with their wishes and professionally. We're not going to come in and just take 3 or 4 items because they're the headline. They're the cherry pick items that might get us on the news or on the BBC. We are committed to this, and it's a long game. And hopefully the more we say that, the more we do things professionally, the more people will come forward and, of course, trust us to do the job that we're doing. That's the positive.
Excellent. I mean, I have there been instances, I mean, fans obviously get very excited about such things too. Have there been any instances where fans have perhaps overstepped their boundaries, and can you caution them not to do that?
Not recently. I mean,
Good.
We had a couple of instances after the sort of initial frenzy started with a couple of comments on Facebook. But I'm pleased to say, having asked for calm, having asked for people to sort of, show restraint, we're working in the background. We're really doing everything you'd want us to do. In the instance of the collection in which we found the 2 items, there was a judicial process that we had to go through. Then, of course, you're faced with 64 wooden tea chests full of film, 28 refuge sacks full of film, and you've got to work your way through those, understand what's there. Some of the Doctor Who items we found were in Kodak cans with no labels on the exterior. So you have to open everything, you have to look, it takes time. And of course, we've reached, with that collection, the end goal. Everything's catalogued. We know what's rare and missing. Those items are announced to the world. They'll be available on the iPlayer soon, and the BBC will be the recipients to look after all of those items for future generations. It's a win-win for everyone.
It's very exciting times, John, and made easier, I suppose, because you've sort of acquired charitable status in the UK, which means people can actually send donations in to help out with whatever purchases and whatever finances you have. Can you expand on that element of things?
Yes, of course. So becoming a charitable trust was very important for us. We've got 1 or 2 other things that we're progressing as well, which will allow us to become to effectively offer some tax incentives for people if they want to make either larger donations, because the costs that we incur are ongoing. To go and collect films means hiring vehicles, paying for petrol, employing staff or employing volunteers, paying for insurance. These are real costs that stop us from doing things in the way, or as many things as we might like to do. So the donations have actually made a huge difference. The money that we invested, and I use the term invested, in that collection that allowed us to return those missing episodes of Doctor Who, came from people listening to your program now who made donations. We are incredibly grateful. Everyone that supported us has helped return those 2 episodes of Doctor Who. And that is something I say with all sincerity. Without the support, without the finances, we simply wouldn't be able to do what we're doing. It's that simple.
Well, I'm glad that we in fandom could contribute what we could to such a noble and worthy cause. John Franklin, congratulations, I suppose, on the work that you've done so far, and the best of luck for the work to come. I'm sure you have a lot of very interested people listening in and watching at your progress. And thanks for joining me to talk about it today.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, John. We had microphone issues, but we got through them okay. What I really liked is that we talked a little bit afterwards, and how he also mentioned briefly that they are looking to. He mentioned the film labs and stuff who did the technical review copies, which I think was probably the most fascinating aspect of that interview. And a couple of them, they're getting like testimonies and like on the record stories about, and some of these people haven't worked in those labs obviously since like the 80s or 90s or earlier, but they are still sharp as attack and remember working in those days. Not necessarily working with Doctor Who, but I suppose we'll see. I haven't seen what's on the interviews, but what I did note after we were done talking, John Franklin's very, he's very precise and deliberate, I suppose, when he's talking sort of on the record, because it's you don't want to get misquoted or anything, and we've done our best to not misquote him in anything. But then, we were just talking about film and collecting afterwards, and like the passion for it that he has came through. He has 800 laser discs.
Now, that's a brother right there.
800 laser discs.
At my height, I maybe had 20. So.
Right? I know, 800. And all the films that he collects are all like 1930s and 40s film noir stuff, like on 16 mil and 35 mil. So, the real passion is there. This is why this whole initiative sprung up, because John Franklin and people like him are passionate about film collecting and everything. But Chris has been busy today. Warren, you've had a chance to listen to a bit of the interview. What did you think? What did you take away from it?
The technical stuff, which of course I was eating up with a spoon, as one does. Because he's talking about these, what was it? Not editing copies. What was the name of them?
Technical review copies. They've been called cutting copies, but they're technically...
That's what I thought I was editing, cutting copies. That was interesting. Also, two other things. One, about how fans... not to, or just the general public is like, why didn't these guys just give this stuff back? And the reason is they usually worked for the BBC and they want their pension. I was like, you hadn't told me that, I wouldn't have thought of it. But that's a perfectly good reason to hold on to these things and not make a stink about it. So, and there was one other thing, the fact that people just find this stuff and it's in a shoebox, basically. And there's 3 things you in particular might be interested in. The rest isn't that. But then the other stuff is something somebody else is interested in that you don't care about. So
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I know. Yeah. Sometimes people don't care as much about Doctor Who as you do. Is the tragic thing that I'm learning about this is that
it took you a while, but yeah.
I know. It's quite shocking. No.
Him for one, he's not a huge Doctor Who guy. He's nothing against it, but he's not a huge Doctor Who guy. But that's not what this is about. This just happens to be a lucky find, I guess.
Yeah, honestly, it gives him and Film is Fabulous the clarity to not be blinded by like going after a particular collection because it might have a Doctor Who missing episode at the expense of another one that might be more vulnerable, but it might not have one. You know what I mean? Like they
are Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, who's lived a life. They are not Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, where his dad has to go, Indiana, let it go.
They are expressly not Indiana Jones.
That's true too. Yes. I just realized that is not the best comparison.
They're not wearing Indiana Jones costumes and appearing on the One show or something like a certain other Doctor Who missing episode collector has done in the past.
That's true. Okay, then maybe that's not the best comparison. Yeah. But you get where I'm going with this.
I get what you're going with it. Yeah, I get you going with when he's talking about the technical review copies, like the fewer cuts that needed to be made, honestly, are worse off for finding missing episodes because, every time they would have to do a cut, they would say, okay, we need to cut this, this, and this. Okay, send it back, strike another print. Okay, review that one. So now you've got 2. You've got the original one that they made with no cuts. There's a technical review copy and the original negative. And now you've got a second technical review copy that has a couple cuts in it, we could probably work on that. So like if there's like something with 6 or 7, passes on and having to cut stuff, that might be 7 more episodes, like 7 more copies of a thing that are out there. So
it's the opposite of a censor to find, basically.
Kind of, yeah.
So you're saying Feast of Stephen is next to be announced?
100%.
There were no cuts whatsoever in Feast of Stephen.
Sadly, no. I don't. I'm as the evidence is mounting. I'm having to pull back from my my Feast of Stephen denialism in thinking that it might have been saved. I mean, you never know. I still chalk it up to a possible lazy technician who in December 1966 was told by someone higher up than him, who then told someone else that I was higher up from him, we need these things made, new copies of. Okay, I just don't think they just accept that one. Do not do that one because that one's not going. They would have just taken it off the shelf, plopped it down, plopped them on the reel, made film copies of them all without skipping one. Now that film copy could have gone. It could have been burned like a week after. Oh, what do we do this one for? We don't need that one, and it's gone. But it might have been made.
If we had a we did have a fluid link question about this. I'm pretty sure about which would you get rid of if you had to get rid of one episode or story or whatever.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm of two minds on this because if I wanted to just pick one at random, I get rid of Feast of Steve, and I think it's completely useless and doesn't really add anything to the Daleks Master Plan. But then you're just continuing this destruction of the Daleks Master Plan by getting rid of it. So it's like you got the good and bad devil, the devil and the angel on your shoulders here.
I know. Yeah, Daleks Master Plan is a survivor, man. I mean, never sold anywhere, and there's 5 episodes sitting out there. I mean, 5 of 12.
Alexander Goodenough at the end of Die Hard, coming up from a car that he has no right of coming out of before he gets shot by Reginald Vell Johnson.
Yeah.
Spoilers for Die Hard.
Definitely. Anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing what foo-fra and loveliness happens out of the screening this coming weekend at Riverside Studios. I'm looking forward to watching the episodes somehow. I'm looking forward to them being made available worldwide on iTunes or Google or whatever places you buy digital copies of stuff. I hope
Disney
that
Plus.
is also a thing.
They're going to show them on Disney Plus with no explanation whatsoever.
They'll decide. It'll show up instead of the War Between the Land and the Sea. We decided to show 2 episodes of Doctor Who from 1965.
David Tennant lopes on. His hair is completely askew. He's got the 14th Doctor. He's like, oh, this again. They don't cut anything. He's just like, oh, come on. Oh, wait, I'm on camera. Damn.
Yeah, it's just him. Georgia Tennant is shooting him for an Instagram reel, in portrait mode, and
it's just his phone.
Yeah, it's just his phone shooting it.
He's in his living room, inexplicably in the 14th Doctor outfit.
It was in Skaro of 1965 that I was there. Yep. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the interview, John Franklin. I did a great deal, and was glad to talk about some more missing episodes. We love the missing episodes on this podcast, everyone. So I imagine that we will be following their progress quite closely in the weeks and months to come. On to other news, though. Gallifrey One hotel accommodations open Friday, May the 8th. Hotelmaggedon, everyone. The penultimate Hotelmaggedon. I'm sure
we more bloody than usual.
I don't know. Given the way
and
that
by
America,
bloody, I mean it takes 30 seconds before it sells out. Is what I'm saying.
I know what you mean. I mean, given the way that America is and international relations are, but also given that there's only 2 of them left, I don't know what the vibe is for people going to Gallifrey One.
I saw a thing about the World Cup, and it was one of those things that went around. People are like, "Oh my god," because FIFA canceled all these rooms. It turns out the reason they do that is they're basically holding them until they get released for people to actually buy for the game. So it's actually not the big deal it's made out to be.
Okay.
But for a while there was this big panic. You see, nobody's coming to America. They're canceling all these rooms. I'm like, okay, let's give this 10 minutes and see what's actually going on. And that's what's actually going on. That's in no way related to Gallifrey. It's just interesting to interpolate other things and go, oh, clearly this is also going to have a diminished capacity because of outside stuff, like you said.
That's a good thing to point out, Warren, because I'd heard that too, and I thought, because it's kind of like when hockey teams, for instance, will keep aside a number of tickets for the visiting team to say, do you have any friends and family who want to come to the game, want to watch you play? And if they don't use them all, they'll say, look at this, here's some more tickets that are available for sale. It's like, oh, looks like you didn't sell this one out.
Exactly. It could very well turn out.
Yeah.
It could very well turn out that a bunch of people don't go to the States for the reasons we had specified at the World Cup, or Mexico because of what recently happened there. Or,
that's true.
I don't know, Canada. Come on, Canada, you got it in you. Do some disastrous thing to keep people from going to the World Cup. Because it's a block for me, that's why.
That's true. Don't wish ill upon.
I'm not wishing ill. I'm just saying we're the only ones that hasn't happened to yet. So
that's true. Well, as long as you're not tempting fate.
Well,
should be fine.
Yeah.
Chris, you're going to the World Cup? No.
Guitar or nothing. What can I say?
Come on, Chris. You could stay at my place if you want. If you could actually afford the tickets, you could stay at my place for free. You could eschew the hotel costs.
I don't think I have quite enough interest in association football to.
That's fair.
To do such a thing.
Nor do I.
No. I think it opened the route. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say for the just so it gets mentioned. For the Galley Hotel block, you must have a Gallifrey One membership. You don't have to prove it when you book the hotel room,
right?
But you have to have a membership to be allowed to have a room.
And also, pro tip: log in to the Marriott site and have that credit card up to date. Because I did it a couple times and it didn't work out great for me.
Yeah, the logging in definitely is very important. I love how the Marriott website sometimes like, well, it's been like 12 minutes. We're going to kick you out again. And then go, wait a second. Is this your usual browser? We just ordered a weird browser. Try to log you in. Is this one?
Why am I on Opera? I don't even have Opera. What's going on here?
We're gonna send an email just so you can log in again. And they go, I'm going to wait for a 6-digit code. Hurry up. Yeah. I listen. I know that a lot of people still are on the fence because of international world events and stuff. Erica and I bought our tickets this past week. We will participate in hotelmaggedon as we will. There you go. That's where we are. I am still looking forward to it because there are only 2 left. Damn it! And the
words of Dan Rather. I think it was Dan Rather.
Yeah.
Strength. That's what I'm saying to everybody. He just would say strength at the end of a CBS Evening News. Don't know why. He just did that. I'm not making that up.
Like, is that like 2016 or was it like 1968 when he was getting the crap beat out of him by police at the Republican National Convention? Oh,
didn't he get booted out because of something to do with Kerry's?
He did.
No, it was George W. Bush. There was something about George W. Bush being in the National Guard and it wasn't fact-checked exactly right. And even though it wasn't his fault, he was the one that got drummed out for it. So it was before then. It was like, and that would have been 2004 or 5, something like that. So yeah, or before that, he would just go strength. But because it's Dan Rather saying it, you're like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
because he's got the voice.
Heady day. Remember that? Remember that was the biggest political crisis in American times in this
and the Swift boat
21st
thing.
century?
And, you know, that was one lie, not one lie every day. So,
yeah. Happy days.
Making it political.
Making it political. Anyway. Hotelmaggedon, May 8th, Gallifrey One, next year, early February, once again. No guests announced yet, but they don't have to because they don't usually do that until later. Tickets are already on sale. Hotel on May 8th. There we go. Which is precisely almost nearly 2 months before we get Peter Davison's season 3, a.k.a. season 21, the collection, coming to North America on what would be John Pertwee's 107th birthday, July 7th.
He's got it in him. I have faith in him. Wait a minute. No, maybe not.
I saw the graphic earlier because Patrick Troughton was born on May 25th, 1920. It says, "Happy birthday, Patrick Troughton," said the official BBC account. Says, "Listen, guys.
I know, it drives me nuts.
Patrick Trout wouldn't be 100 in however many years he is still today, all right? You know, say the anniversary of his birth. Can you imagine
how many families he would have at that point, though?
That's a good point.
He would be a village. It would take a village, and that village would be Patrick Troughton.
That's true. Troughton Village.
He could have his own version of the Cheaper by the Dozen movie.
Oh, there we go.
So this is just in the U.S., yes?
Yeah, just in the U.S. for now.
Oh, come on.
Well, I mean,
so far, it'll happen.
Yeah. We never wait until like after July 7th before it shows up for order in Canada. So I'm never worried. It always, the canary in the coal mine is obviously always the U.S. Amazon, where that's where links pop. But it's popped up for the season 2 Shooty-Gatwa, popped up for June 2nd.
Still nothing on the Canadian site for that, I see as well.
It's there, but it's currently unavailable. I've wish listed it.
Yeah, but they usually, you're right, they usually just kind of switch that on after.
Yeah, they do. So, yeah, July 7th is when Peter Davison Collection's coming out, so that we will officially have caught... No, we won't have, because we still have to wait for the Doctor Who TV movie, which is
I stumbled across, I wasn't looking for it, but I stumbled across somebody doing comparisons of Resurrection of the Daleks effects from the original, and they look pretty dang good, I gotta say.
Oh, the effects, I've seen, I've seen some with the AI up-resing.
Oh, not that. No, this is like laser blasts and that kind of stuff, and they do a pretty good job. And there's a thing where, you know, when the Dalek shows up basically in a white background, well, they changed that, and they got reflecting lights on the Dalek, and it's like a more Dalek-y background. It's pretty, the way they do these, and I got to give the effects guys praise, is they make it look like Doctor Who, but a little bit better, not flashy.
I felt like some of the early attempts at these for the DVD range, they're almost like, look what we can do with CG animation in 1999, and
these tone it down to like, you know, this looks like more expensive Doctor Who of the time, kind of. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing the Warriors of the Deep. Special edition with the new Merca. I thought that honestly, I've said this before, the Happiness Patrol one on season 25 that I think was done by Pink McTie and other people, I honestly think it's the definitive telling of that story. I think it's that good because it was sort of like based on what the Chris Clough, the director, originally kind of wanted from it, and maybe even Graham Curry, who wrote it. And it's like but it doesn't feel like it's made like with 21st century effects still. Like it's really good.
The one I always goes back to is the guys who did the Babylon 5 effects way back when. After Babylon 5 was done, they did one of the first special editions of motion picture. And their remit was you have to do film techniques that look like what a camera from the 1978 could do, or 79, right? You just have to extend stuff, make the sky look better in Vulcan because the original looks like hell. Yeah. But then they did that. It just looks way better, and it totally fits too, because you're like, oh yeah, this actually looks, if you didn't tell me, I probably wouldn't know that wasn't like a thing from the 70s.
One of my favorite movies is Apollo 11, that the documentary about Apollo 11, and it uses only footage from 1969. Like it's all told with original sound and original footage, and the music score and what you would call computer graphics are made on technology that existed in 1969 and no later. And it is so cool. It's so cool that I love that. Yeah. Love it a lot. So, yep. Season 21. Chris, you're going to get that, obviously.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Which box set are you up to now? Are you behind by 2 or 3, or are you caught up right now?
I'm still working my way through 13, but I'm caught up.
Oh, it's the most recent one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well done. Yeah. A sneak peek for a further episode down the line. But I had a big, long chat with Paul Vanessis about the 1996 TV movie, literally 2 days before it was announced that the Doc's Master Plan episodes were found and coming back. So we've kicked that down the lineup a little bit because of that. But he says that basically he's having to essentially remake certain effects, essentially, because while the film exists in 35 mil, the effects do not, and so he's had to sort of like either up-res them or kind of almost like actually recreate them. So this is a thing that affects Doctor Who as well. But that's in an episode.
That was the big obstacle for TNG when it went on Blu-ray. Because as you may remember, there was that sampler release of 5 or so episodes.
Oh, I don't remember that actually.
That they
No, I don't remember that either.
They did as a test bed, released that, and gauged response, and then they're like, okay, it's popular enough that let's do the whole run.
Wow. 5 episodes?
There are so many evil billionaires. Could one of them? One of them has to be a DS9 fan. Well, actually, they wouldn't be evil billionaires. They like DS9. But could you just take one smidgen of your fortune and up-res DS9? Hell, do Voyager 2 while you're at it. Come on.
Yeah. I know. DS9 was different because they shot after season 3 onward. They shot 16:9 but cropped it, so you could almost actually present that as a widescreen release as well.
And I believe Enterprise was shot HD in the later seasons and not the earlier ones.
No, Enterprise was full HD, I think.
Full HD the whole time?
Full HD.
Okay. Now, see, David Ellison is one of these evil billionaires, and he owns Star Trek. So what are we even doing here?
I know. Listen, there's no Star Trek because Starfleet Academy was canceled.
Well, I know where to pour that money. DS9.
Like, where else?
DS9 restoration. Come on.
What a weird time. Can we comment a little bit that?
Yeah, sure.
There's no Doctor Who being made because this much vaunted Christmas special, which is supposed to shoot in March from all reports, is sure ain't shooting in March unless they're literally rolling the cameras on Monday, which doesn't sound like they're doing. There's no Star Trek series or Star Wars series currently in production. They're not making the Acolyte right now. They've got the movie they're making. I think they finished
Starfighter. I think that's
Starfighter.
Yeah.
With Ryan Gosling.
Mandalorian's coming out. But
it's coming out. There's no Star Trek shows or movies in production. When's the last time those big 3, so to speak, were like all not in production?
Good question. I don't know.
Right? Like we're looking
right after Revenge of the Sith, maybe, because Star Trek is dead.
Because
Star Wars is kind of dead.
But Doctor Who was back when Revenge of the Sith came along. Doctor Who's there. You know, what a crazy time. All of our icons of the 20th century are suddenly all sort of simultaneously on their lowest ebbs.
On the other hand, all three of them could do with a bit of a rest. So
Maybe
at the
that's
same
true.
time.
Yeah, they're sitting on the bus and they go, "We got one seat left for you, Marvel. Have a seat, buddy. Come on down."
And Marvel's got its best Sunday clothes on, but it's just a little too dressed up.
After Dune Part 3 beats Doomsday that first weekend. It's like,
they come out the same day, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to see Dune first.
Yeah. Chris, you're going to say something there?
Oh, just going to remark that the reboot of Doctor Who, now being 21 years old, is just sitting in the bar alone, drinking its scotch.
That's right.
Got no friends around.
Yeah.
Well, that's a Doctor Who fan, all right.
I know. Literally had his 21st birthday this past week as well.
Well, I just meant the sitting around with no friends.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, after all, that's how it all started.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of anniversaries, Tom Baker, the legend that is Tom Baker, posted on his official YouTube channel just a short little clip.
92 now? Is that what it is?
Yes, he's 92 years old. 45 years since the end of Logopolis, March 21st. And, he's just delightful, Tom Baker. He's just being Tom Baker, which is all we want right now. God damn it. It's just and he was just glorious. So anyway, links in the show notes. You want to see Tom Baker be Tom Baker for about 15 and a half seconds. It's great. I love Tom Baker.
I mean, it's unlikely this will happen, but I want him to outlive a certain guy you all know about. I'm just saying, I was putting out there in the universe.
That's true. Sorry, William Shatner, but I assume
that's
that's the
not
one
the
you
guy
mean.
I'm talking about.
I wasn't sure it was one he meant or not. Okay.
And he just turned 90.
Yeah, he's 95. I think he's older.
95.
I cannot believe he's 95.
And he's still got all his marbles, from what I can tell.
He does. 95. William Shatner, amazing.
Pouring one out.
Damn right. Canada's own William Shatner, damn it.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned that we talked about this last week, but it's officially confirmed now. Matt Brittin, noted Doctor Who fan and also ex-Google chief, which
And not Matt Berry.
No,
I'm in charge of the BBC.
The BBC. Matt Brittin has now been officially installed. I don't know if he's installed. I think it does. Does he have to? Does it take 15 months to be confirmed? I was listening to the Insiders
There's
podcast.
a whole thing at the Bishop of Canterbury has to be there.
It's ridiculous. They have to wait. The coronation has to happen. This might spur on the purchase of color TVs. So people can watch people can watch the coronation. I mean, it's that sort of thing. What happens with this? But hey, likes Doctor Who. So. We got someone in our corner, everyone. Take that. Maybe someone who's the new guy in charge of Disney. Is he a Star Wars fan?
I don't remember his name. He was one of the parks guys.
Jake somebody. John?
Yeah.
Jonah? I don't remember his name. Starts with J.
John
you know what?
Jacob
I'm fine with
Schmidt.
not knowing the name of the guy in charge of Disney. You know what? I'm sick and tired of knowing who CEOs are. I don't want to know.
Right? I know. I feel like I don't care as much about Disney anymore now that they don't.
Well, that's true too.
And they're obviously not showing the war between the land and the sea anytime soon. So really,
with all the prediction markets, there's Kalshi and what's the other one? Polymarket. Why isn't? In fact, I don't know this for a fact. Maybe War Against the Land and the Sea showing up at Disney is on there somewhere because you can't bet on anything.
You know what? I mean, if it's ever going to show up, it's going to show up when no one's noticing.
That's what I think. It'll be a summer, airdrop basically. It'll be like July 18th. Just to pick a date out of a hat.
Maybe they won't even bother announcing it. Who knows?
I bet you they don't. Or it's in that email you get every month.
I don't get. No, I just checked the website. It's not an email.
Oh, okay.
Per
I
se.
thought you got it.
Yeah,
like
no, I
checked
the official press thing. It's available to anyone. Anyone can check it, and I do when I think of it, and it's never there. However, I can confirm that I am literally opening up Disney Plus right now to see if I can find the war between the land and the sea. That's me doing the official thing, and I'm telling you, no results found. So it's not there on Disney Plus yet. So.
Our best Control F experts, you, have done this.
Yep. So there we go. That was live on Friday. It might drop on Sunday, but
that's true.
Probably not.
Breaking.
To go back to your earlier thing, Stephen, if you haven't looked down far enough in the article, it says he'll start his new job on 18th of May.
Oh, there you go.
And he'll be paid £565,000 a year.
Wow. That's actually pretty low.
You are running the BBC. That's all of the BBC. So.
That's public money too. So.
Mm-hmm. And the amount of crap you're going to take from right-wing people and any number of other people
in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot tougher job for a lot less money than the Disney CSO, who can't even be bothered to put the war between the land and the sea.
He said Disney CSO, which I think it should be.
Disney.
He just shows up and it's like he's like one of those full shimmering guys from Invasion of Time.
The Bard is just
Exactly.
a Disney thing. And surprise,
like,
it's Bob Chapek. And they go, no, what are you doing? We just got rid of this guy. Why would you do that?
We're trying to have a board meeting. Could you please stop shimmering? It's really distracting.
Alert, full alert.
Please put that coat hanger away.
New Hooniverse show is out. I don't know if you cats watched it. Camille Kaduri is being interviewed by Tea Coffee in the outside at the location of the Pal Estate in Cardiff. Mm-hmm. Some 21 years after they filmed there. What's really weird is that I feel like this happened in a prior episode too, where it feels like when they did their little news segment at the very end, all the news is out of date, and that they said, here's a new audio, Paul Hayes' Starflight audiobook that we talked about, last week. It said it's coming on March 5th, which I thought was odd because it's well past March 5th. Also not mentioned in that whole video was the discovery of the 2 missing episodes of the Daleks Master Plan, which I feel is the biggest Doctor Who news literally of this calendar year. So I'm feeling they're shooting these things early, as I can understand, but like even the news bits are like really early, and they're releasing it on the last weekend of the month. And I'm not sure that's a viable release strategy if you're going to do Doctor Who news at the end of it. That's my little complaint. So there. So there you go. We look to see what's going to be on the next Hooniverse show. Is Bonnie Langford on the next one? I think she might be. I think I heard someone tell that she's going to be the one on the next, but she might have been already on one. I've lost track what's on the Hooniverse show, but and I know that you two aren't as avid watchers as I am, so
I'm just not as much of a YouTubist as you are.
Yeah, well, I mean, I watch it. I mean, you know, it's a different show. It's sort of marketed towards the youths a little more, but I like to keep up to date with what's going on with it. So that's why I watch. Anyway, let's do a big finish thing. The 11th Doctor Adventures. The first question is out now. There's even a Q&A with Miles Taylor and Jasmine Bays, who is Doctor Who, the 11th Doctor, and Eleanor Fong, respectively, in the actual thing. Precious few clips of them in character on, like, I was looking for like a trailer or something like that, but I couldn't find them. But the one I did, and we talked about this at the time back in November when they announced this, Miles Taylor does a very good 11th Doctor. You know, like just like the sound of his voice, but also the way he speaks, I think is really cool.
Before we recorded, I said it's like Jonathan Carley. It's not quite the same voice as John Hurt, but the essence is there. Yeah,
I almost think that Miles Taylor's almost the same voice. I mean, you know, he's younger. He's like, because Matt Smith, he was 26 when he started Doctor. He's 58 years old now, so he just doesn't have
he's not 58
the same timbre to his voice anymore. So even Matt Smith probably doesn't sound like Matt Smith anymore.
Well, Tom Baker doesn't. I mean, Tom Baker actually does sound like Tom Baker. And he does sound like definitely a 92-year-old Tom Baker. But when he laughs, that's the Tom Baker laugh, baby. It hasn't changed one bit.
He knows.
Of course, yeah. He's having it up.
What we want. He knows why we watch Tom Baker. Anyway. 3 different stories are in that box set, including one by Beth Axford, a friend of the show. Beth Axford has been on here a couple times in the past, so good for her. I think it's her first Big Finish audio. So
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. That's pretty cool. Last but not least, before we get the hell out of here, the Doctor Who Annual 2027 is coming soon. When's the release date for this, Chris? Do you know?
August 20th.
August 20th. So there's a pre-order link basically on the Penguin website, but there isn't much information yet available for it. But the annual comes out then, so I don't think I have any of the annuals. Maybe
I don't, and I'll tell you what. Andrew Mark Thompson. I'm forgetting his name. He has done so many silly, ridiculous, awesome spoof annuals of like Star Cops and Juliet Bravo and just all these other shows that have no business having an annual. That I just can't look at any annuals now without thinking of those.
That's true. Do watch annual, yeah. Chris, I seem to recall you picked up a couple of these when you lived in England, but I could be wrong about that.
No.
Oh.
No. I've never collected the annuals.
Did you buy me one once? I brought it back. When you used to buy me things out of the goodness of your heart, I'm thinking, look at this. It's a Doctor Who thing. And now you don't do that anymore. That's fine.
I remember when I first moved over there, the first Radio Times that came out with Doctor Who on the cover, which was for Voyage of the Damned. I remember mailing each of you guys a copy of that. But
I bet you I have that somewhere then still, probably. I don't throw anything away.
I probably do too, yeah. Actually, I'm pretty sure I do.
But annuals and such, no. That, and I remember you always asking for SFX magazines.
Really?
Well, but you can get here.
Yeah, what was I thinking? Idiot.
I don't know.
You're an Indigo. I mean, what are you doing?
20 years ago, so.
Yeah, that's true. God, we were different people back then, man.
Maniacs. Yeah. Well, you're still a maniac, so I mean.
Different ways, though. Different ways. True. Yeah. Looking forward to the next World of Telly, which hopefully will come out this next week. They're talking about Gangsters, which I have been watching again. As have I. And for the first time, because I've never actually watched it before. Yeah.
And you weren't lying. It's stylish as all hell.
Stylish. I ordered the DVD. A DVD cost me like $80 on Amazon. It's arriving in a month and a half.
And it's region 2, so you've got to go.
And it's region 2, obviously, but I got to
run it.
Yeah, I got to region full. But I will tell you this, Spiral Staircase fans, there is a Spiral Staircase in episode 3 now. What makes this interesting is Gangsters was shot at Pebble Mill in Birmingham, so I find highly unlikely that they would literally, hey, BBC London, do you have a Spiral Staircase prop that you can drive up to Birmingham for us so we can use it in literally 2 shots of an episode of Gangsters? Or is there another Spiral Staircase? But this is like
the grassy knoll.
Yeah. This is like technical review copies. There might be multiple copies of the same thing out there. There might be multiple versions of that staircase.
So let me get this straight. Okay. You've got this groundbreaking, amazing show that has just world-beating acting, amazing dialogue, insane. How do they get this multicam shots? Like they have a Goodfellas tracking shot basically into the Copacabana.
Alistair Reed, a great
2 decades
director.
before that ever happened.
Yeah,
right. I mean, it's not as good obviously because it's not the same level of technical availability, but it's amazing for what they're pulling off. There's a shot where they pull back from this nightclub way further than they have any right to do and somehow get away with it.
Yeah.
And the Spiral Staircase is what you think is interesting. Okay.
Yep. Hope that's covered. Hope it's covered on the next World of Telly. I will be disappointed if it is not.
You will try your Patreon if it's not.
I will indeed.
That's the tipping point.
That is. That's it. All right. Well, we talked about a lot in this, and the party's still raging across the street at the bar, so I will not attend.
So you better dash over and not miss the fun.
Better pop over.
Shirt off, glitter on. Come on, get on.
Yeah, next week, as we said, we'll review. My word, we're going to watch 2 new to us Doctor Who episodes and talk about them on this very podcast. 2 new 1965 Doctor Who episodes. Very much looking forward to watching these and talking about them. So join us next week for that, won't you? In the meantime, though, and in between time, I'm Stephen in Edmonton.
We're in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
So long for now.